After years of diligent service, the Sun Ultra40 workstation started giving me ECC errors, and I got a alarm. It actually rebooted itself and froze at a post screen saying something about multiple ECC errors on one proc, and it like basically was halting and waiting for me to press F1. So I was like, well, probably time. Now for a while I'd known I had some capacitor rot, and you can see right here is a really nasty case. It ran with these all right for a while. I was just like, well, let it run until it has issues, and it suddenly has issues. So I've taken the procs off the board. This is an old socket 940 motherboard. It's dual proc. It's been running fine, and that is not my doing. That was from either previous owners or wherever. I got this thing from eBay years ago at this point. They're getting quite expensive now because it's a very beautiful chassis. That being said, it looks like I have quite a few caps to replace. Thankfully, these are all through-hole. There are some surface electrolytics, but they look like they're all in good condition. I haven't checked them with a in-circuit ESR because what do you think I am? I don't have anything fancy, but I am going to replace the ones that popped. So it does appear all of these, I haven't checked the brand, but all of these brown ones are the ones that are exhibiting it, like no matter what the rating. The green and golds seem to all be looking pretty still. And ironically enough, like every green and gold cap on here is in good condition. The electrolytics all look fine. They don't feel bloated. There's no oozing out on the board. I don't see anything protruding on any of the traces. There's no goop anywhere. All I'm seeing is every single one of these brown caps, every single one has gone cruddy. And I run my finger over it now to see if you can see. It's like it is severely bloated. So you can see the top of that is just a complete arc. That one's already leaking some. So it's not... The green ones, though, however, if you look, they're perfectly indented. You still see a little K. I'm not sure what brand that is, but obviously they've held the test of time. So this thing runs hotter than the blazes of hell. These two Opterons put off a crap ton of heat. So I do plan on putting this all back together and having it back up and running. I have considered case modding this, but for the same reason I don't case mod my Silicon Graphics machines. Every day that this still exists, it becomes more and more rare as people value this less. And then suddenly, this is how it works with the antique computers. You have no value, and then suddenly, you start off with some decent value. The value goes down as people don't care anymore, and then suddenly, as it becomes more rare, value shoots back up. So at this point, I've done this enough. I've thrown away enough machines I regret. There are so many old Sun Spark boxes and stuff I tossed in the garbage, and Apple IIs that I thought were trash because who wants these garbage machines, that now I'm like, well, I should have kept those. So anyhow, that's why I'm going to invest some time on this. I'm going to replace the caps. I'll recap this board, and then I'm going to hopefully have a nice Sun Microsystems box up and running. I also took time to grab off of the eBay two replacement OEM fans. These are from the Delta. It's like Delta. I think that's Delta Electronics, but it looks like their logo. Either way, these are the OE power supply fans. Somebody was selling them for like 15 bucks on eBay a piece. Probably overpriced, but I couldn't find the part number anywhere else, so whoever found new old stock on eBay or whatever Chinese factory is putting this gray market out, I don't know. Either way, I will replace the power supply fans as well, just to make sure that everything's in good kosher condition, because right now there is a once in a blue moon noise that comes from the power supply. Either way, look forward to seeing you replace caps on this board. So, desoldering components on a motherboard that was not made in 1992 is harder, surprisingly. There is a lot of copper in here, and it acts as a giant heat sink. So here's an example of the caps I'm trying to pull off that are bloated and destroyed. And my soldering setup is set to, I don't know if you can see it with the light. Let's see if I can adjust my iris. It's kind of kept in a fresh rate. It's 480 degrees C on this thing. So it's hotter than all hell. And what I'm doing, it's active right now, but I'm holding with one hand. So I've already removed one capacitor here. I hold this up against, I add fresh solder. I try to do it as quick as possible. So I add fresh solder to each leg, and then I let it set, and it probably takes about 15 seconds at 480. It hasn't hurt the board's surface very much. There's some shmoo on here I've cleaned off, but I'm using a lot of flux, and I'm using rosin core solder. So I'm just dumping solder on it, and then at the end I take some wick, and I'll run over with the wick, and I will wipe with the wick the surface. So I'm using the wick to kind of clean up the flux and solder, and then I come back with some isopropyl, 91%. Ooh, the iris is now no longer auto adjusting because I've made it mad, but got my squirt bottle there, so I'll spray some isopropyl 91 and I'll use some tech wipes on it, and it ends up looking relatively clean. This is painful. I did not know it was going to suck this much. Cleaning these out to get the holes empty, I've done earlier. I was experimenting. I had to use a pencil tip and my sucker. So what I'd do is I would take the sucker and hold it to one side, and then use a pencil tip and stick it into the hole, again, at 480. This is terrible. The board is so large, though, it's just the hole hitting 480, so I'm being very gentle. I don't want to hurt anything, so I'm trying to decrease the amount of time I'm on the board as much as possible. Anyhow, if it wasn't for this being an antique board I'm trying to keep alive, I think I would throw it in the dumpster and find a new one on eBay. But eBay, these things don't exist, so now I have an antique that's irreplaceable. Anyhow, next board, or next capacitor I'm doing is right here, and then I'll just move on down the line.
What you're seeing now is the aftermath after all of the capacitors had been removed. It took a lot of effort because the board would basically sink off every bit of heat from the soldering iron. But in the end, I was able to replace all of the electrolytics on this board that were leaky, and I'm glad to report that it is running happily under my desk today. Despite the fact that it lacks any sort of virtualization technology, I don't know that I'll keep using this host as a daily driver for checking email or random web browsing. It seems to be hitting its limit even at that, so it might be finding itself in the shelf of misfit toys here shortly.